Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I am your host, Jason Cercone, and we are in the home stretch of Season 2 of Pod Theory. Episode 135 lies ahead. Me and my main man, Travis Brown, the founder of Poddex, we had so much fun putting this season together. We may just have to do it again someday. If you're into that, please let us know. If you want to hear us do another season down the road, I know I'm for it, I know Travis is for it, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you think this content is valuable enough to roll out another season with Travis as the featured co-host, all you got to do is say the word. Today on episode 135, the second to last episode of the season, Travis and I have a discussion about the best way to grow your audience that most podcasters ignore. I love this subject, and I am very excited to dive in and share more info with you. Let's get to it. Episode 135 of Pod Theory lies ahead. Here we go.
All right, podcasters, we're back. Welcome to Podcastville. This is Pod Theory, Season 2, Episode 135. And I'm the guest. What am I?
Featured co-host, Travis.
The featured co-host.
You wanted to lead this episode in, and you don't even know what your title is for this season.
Yeah, I'm the guest. I'm the guest of the guest. So today we're going to talk about the best way to grow an audience that most podcasters ignore, because podcasting is really an easy way to transmit information to the globe, right? You don't have to go door to door knocking on people's doors. You have access to different ways in order to get out there. But podcasting is also one-dimensional, and there's no feedback loop. So what we're trying to express to you is a couple of different approaches that we use in our businesses and podcasts to create an open loop, to let people in the door. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that the first thing on our list is actually building an email list. But I want to open this up by saying, instead of thinking of building an email list, I want you to think about nurturing an email list, because we've all heard everybody say, you should build an email list, and we're going to talk about why. But you don't want to just build it. You need to send emails to that email list and nurture that list, even if it's one person on your email list. So, Jason, let's talk a little bit about why email is just still a viable option for podcasters to communicate. What do you think would be the number one reason?
I think the biggest reason that you should have an email list, and maybe this would be 1A, because the biggest reason is the fact that once you bring people into your circle of influence by getting them signed up for your email, you have the ability to communicate with them whenever you feel you want to. Some people choose to do this daily, some choose weekly, some space it out like myself. I do a monthly newsletter that I send out to my list. And the ability to do that is so powerful, especially when you consider the fact that it's yours. This is your list. These are people that have proven that they want to be part of your circle because they signed up. If social media were to go away tomorrow, you'd still be able to communicate with those people. If you were only communicating with them through some exterior method, external methods, such as Instagram, Facebook, what have you, if that went away, you'd lose that ability. And then in essence, you'd be losing a big part of your audience. All that work that you put in is now gone. So having that circle built in a way where you can communicate with them on your terms is a very powerful method. And I feel that email is going to continue to be valuable because you have a little bit more control over what you say. You can open up a little bit more. And I'm a fan of it because, for those two reasons, the fact that you can keep people in your circle. And if social media were to disappear, and I think even a more realistic way to look at it is that social media probably won't disappear, but it's going to continue to change. Algorithms will continue to update. They will continue to move the goalpost. If you're nurturing that audience through your email list by giving them good value, it's a nice way to transition them from your podcast to your email and then vice versa.
Absolutely. And so emailing is proactive, whereas social media is more reactive. People are reacting to you. And if you just put yourself in this mindset, let's say you get 100 downloads per episode. If you start inviting people to join your email list, let's say you could actually talk to the people that listen to your podcast. Well, you can through an email list, and it doesn't have to be as complicated as you think. You don't have to write 9 million word emails. It can be as simple as, hey, It's Travis. I'm just checking in on you to see if there's anything cool that you've seen out there that's really exciting you. Here's a link to something that I thought was really cool that I saw on TikTok, right? It doesn't have to be join my master class. It doesn't have to be selling something all the time. But most people don't want to do this because they're afraid people won't open their email. And I have two things to say about this. Let's say somebody doesn't open your email. Well, we all check our email all day long anyway. So imagine that you pop up in their email box, and let's just say they say, I don't want to read this, delete. It still plants a seed about you. And maybe it reminds them that, oh, yeah, I forgot to listen to their podcast last week. Maybe I'll go do that now. I don't have time to read the email, but I can passively listen to this podcast. It's a constant bat signal into the world that you're still out there doing something. And Jason's point of, imagine that the whole internet shuts down, social media is gone. How will you reach your audience? So don't think of it as, oh God, now I got to write a weekly email. I can tell you right now, I do a weekly email. I hate writing emails, but I made it fun by just saying, I'm just going to tell you 5 things I'm excited about, whether it's my stuff or someone else's stuff or a coffee mug my wife bought me. But I'm just going to continually do that. Okay. And then the second thing that's going to happen to you when you nurture this email list is that people are going to unsubscribe. You're going to see an unsubscribe number on your emails and you're going to go, oh my God, people don't like me anymore. But the truth of the matter is that they're just making a decision whether they want you in the inbox anymore. It doesn't mean they hate your guts. It doesn't mean they hate your podcast. And if you're not seeing any unsubscribe numbers, you're not sending enough emails, because unsubscribing from your list is actually a good thing. Because why would you want somebody on your list who doesn't even want to read your emails?
I was just thinking, yeah, exactly.
It'd be like saying, oh, I get 1,000 podcast downloads, but only 6 people actually listen to it. Why would you care about the 994 people that aren't listening? You don't.
We're right back in the vanity metrics.
Yeah, don't take it personally. Send out your emails and make sure you do it on some regular basis, because the worst thing you could do is just pop in every once in a while. And what most people do is they pop in every once in a while when they need something. Think about the opposite. How many times can you pop in where you're sparking a conversation or bringing them value? That will make your offer email or your request emails seem much softer. We all have the friend who does the pop in where you get the text, it's like, hey man, how's it going? And you're like, I now literally respond to those, what do you need? Because the next line's coming. Hey, can you still get a discount on Shure microphones? Oh yeah, no, I can't do that for you anymore. Sorry. But if that person would have said, hey man, what's up? How you been? And I'm like, I'm pretty good, blah, 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 blah. And then just went away. And then a week later said, hey, I found this article. It made me think of you. And I'm like, oh, cool. Someone's thinking of me. And then the third one, they said, hey, this is out of the blue, but like, can you still get me a discount on Shure microphones? The chances of me trying to go out of my way for that person have increased 66%, because I am now not thinking of them as a pop-in as much as I'm thinking of them as somebody who's communicating with me on a regular basis without asking me for something.
It's that jab, 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 right hook mentality.
Yeah, it's just it's called being a person.
Ask. Well, yeah, it is, but I don't think a lot of people understand that. This is gonna veer a little off the rails in respect to our conversation today, but I think it's a question of overall communication and how we communicate with one another these days. We're in such an on-demand world and so accustomed to getting things so quickly that we forego any type of politeness and jump right to what we want. And I think that when we start to develop that thick skin, like you said, I just respond with, what do you need? I'm gonna nip this in the bud, because the small talk is just a waste of time. If you're not taking the time to do that with someone that's actually shown interest in you, it just goes back to what you said, Travis, with planting the seed. And, I've had people that have signed up for my email list because they were going to get a free guide that teaches them how to present themselves to other podcasters so they can be a guest. And then they unsubscribe the next day. Like, all right, you got what you came for. Hopefully it impacts you. If it does, they're probably going to come back at some point in time. There's other ways to look at it. Like, oh, fuck, they just showed up for one thing and then they bounced. That sucks. No, that's not how I look at it. I'm like, good, let's clean this up. Let's keep the list focused more to the people that want to see things from me on a monthly basis, or we'll just go from there. And I'm going to take care of the people that are here and not worry about the people that left. And if they want to circle back someday, I'll welcome them with open arms. But it's all about how you communicate with this audience that you've built. And I know we've stressed this throughout season 2, is this is how you have to be communicating with your audience through the value you deliver and treating the people that are coming into your show and telling you that you're doing a great job by reviewing the podcast and sharing it with others and recommending it to friends. Love those people to death. Nurture them until you're blue in the face. And then more people will join them.
Yeah, because the reality of what's going on here, everybody, is you're not building an audience. You're not building an email list. You're not building a whatever. You're cultivating a community of people, a community. And the community requires everyone to participate and be active, right? If you were a part of a community, but you only just showed up for free pizza all the time, they would stop inviting you because you don't participate or give anything to the community. So when we say things like build an email list, it's kind of the 50,000 foot view of what you're doing. But when you're growing an audience, you're really growing a community. There's no other way to look at it. And your community becomes customers and employees and friends and collaborators. And they're not just on a list. Like, oh, well, my list, I have 5,000 people on my email list. It's like, no, you built a community of 5,000 people. Interact with them in a way that they stay in your community. It'd be like having a party at your house, but you don't talk to anybody. You just stand there. People are going to leave. People are not going to want to come to the next party. Did you see what Travis did at the party? He didn't talk to anybody. That was weird. Think of your audience, your podcast, your whatever you're doing. Be the host of the party. Hit everybody, talk to them, see if they're feeling good. What can do you know where the bathroom is? Can I show you the bathroom is? Did you try those hors d'oeuvres over there? That is really what's important, which takes us to our next point of another tactic. And I hate that word because it makes it sound like sneaky. Strategy?
Strategy works.
Word? Yeah. Okay.
Approach, initiative.
Yeah. So we're going through all the buzzwords here, but you get what we're getting at. But is to be active in other communities. So Jason, how could a podcaster grow awareness about who they are through community?
This is one of the most valuable aspects of Facebook. Now, there's not a lot these days that I get from Facebook. You know, I'll go on there to communicate with friends. I don't do anything business-wise anymore. I might maybe sell something on the marketplace here and there, but mainly I use it to drop some sarcasm here and there about something happening in the world. But overall, if I have to look at it from a brand perspective, the Facebook communities are abundant and they're active. And I would say there's a 99.9% chance that there is some community dedicated to what you're podcasting about. That is the best place for you to be active. Now, I'm not saying you go into these communities and just drop a link that says, hey, my new podcast came out. No, that is not what this is for. In fact, it's going to be a long time, if ever, that you even mention that you have a podcast, because that's not what it's for. You need to be in these communities and positioning yourself as a resource, as a person that people want to be in touch with, because you are conversing, you're adding to conversations that people are starting. There are threads. I mean, I'm being in podcasting, I'm a part of several podcasting groups. There are podcast conversations galore every single day. I'm in fantasy football this time of year, a couple of the fantasy football groups that I'm a part of. Conversation all day. You can jump into any of these communities and have good conversation. But I've never gone into those podcast communities and said, here's my podcast, go listen to it. I've looked at the question and then I've answered the question. I've added my 2 cents. The more you do that, the more people are going to take notice of who you are. In fact, a lot of these groups are now noticing that you're constantly a part of the conversation, and they'll give you a badge that you're a top contributor or a top fan or whatever. They're noticing that the good conversationalists are the ones that should stand out. So go be that person. Go be active in your community. That's just one big way. And that's what I'm saying. If I'm going to pull any value from Facebook to add to what we're talking about today, there it is. Be active in those communities and you can make a big impact.
So here's a couple other ways that you could actually, you're part of communities, you just don't know it. Okay, so there's Facebook groups,
Sure.
but there's comments on YouTube videos and comments on Instagram posts. That's a micro community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No doubt.
So I just want to give you like 2 or 3 things that you can do to participate in a community very easily without being a can of spam in a comment. So 1, I was struggling with this problem and I figured out a solution. Here's the solution I found. I wanted to share this with you guys. So what you're doing is you're basically saying like, I want to solve this problem for you so you don't have it too. Huge community booster. 2, I found this interesting article or link or something that I think you'd all enjoy, and I really didn't want to miss a chance to share it with you. Boom, right? That's 2. And then 3, exactly as Jason mentioned, contribute to the conversation relevantly. So you can go into these things and be a snarky asshole and say whatever you want, or you can truly contribute to a conversation. The problem with Facebook is now it's an argument. So in a Facebook group, find out what they're struggling with, or what their question they're asking, and give them a relevant answer or give them actionable advice. And it takes 2 seconds, but dropping your link in a Facebook group is going to get you nothing. It's going to get you banned from the group, and it makes you look like a spam robot. So being active in communities is proactive. So I think the theme of episode 135 is proactivity. Sending an email to your audience is proactive. It's not reactive. Being a contributor in a community is proactive. What I think the last proactive thing you can do as a podcaster to grow an audience is give them some place to go after the audio. Podcasting is one-dimensional. You'll hear me say that all the time. If I'm talking to you on there, you can't talk back to me. You can't leave a comment. You can't do anything but share it or whatever, unless I invite you somewhere else. So there's a couple places you can invite people. You could start your own Facebook community. You could invite them to social media, but you can also have an active website. And Jason, why do you think having an active website is important? I know we brushed upon it. I don't know what I'm looking for here. We grazed it in the last episode.
We touched upon.
We touched upon thine topic. But
we briefly covered. Am I editing this part out?
No, this is great. This is gold.
Oh, you want to keep this now?
This is magical content. Give me 3 reasons a podcaster needs a website.
I feel we did a lot to cover this back on episode 134, but I mean, for me, I think that having the ability to have a hub for each podcast episode is very powerful because you can always add to it. And I will connect the second reason to that very point is the SEO benefits of having having good show notes, that having a keyword friendly title. And you said it already, Travis. To me, the benefit is having a place to send people outside of your podcast, because when they land on your website, there's always that potential that they're going to take more action if they get sucked in, because if they find good value in one part of your website, they may subscribe to your email list. They may listen to more podcasts. They may check out some videos that you posted. They may read your blog. They may sign up for a consultation or for a meeting with you. Whatever your call to action is, if you're not driving people to that destination, they can't discover it. So having your podcast live there has many, many benefits.
Absolutely. So we're not going to spend too much time on this, but if you do need a podcast website, I highly recommend Podpage. You put in your RSS feed or search for your podcast. It will build you a website in less than a minute. So we'll throw a link in the show notes for you to be able to click that, and you can try it out completely free. And you can build, like, you don't need a web designer and code and all this stuff. You already have an RSS feed, which is basically going to pull in all the information into the website for you automatically, and you'll never have to update it again. So super cool. But there's one more way to grow your audience, and there's no better person on planet Earth to tell you about it than the man sitting above me on Zoom right now. Or are you next to me? I don't know how this is going to unfold here. We're kind of Brady Bunch in here right now.
I think it's back and forth. I don't know.
Jason is a I don't even want to say expert. He's a master at this one topic, which is being a guest on other podcasts. And I think it's way underutilized by podcasters. And I think that there's a bunch of really great reasons that I'm going to throw the mic over to you because there's no reason for me to even speak on it because I've heard your master classes. I've read your book that you can download for free. We'll put a link to the bio in there. Let's talk about guesting.
Guesting is huge. And for me, I think that, and thank you. That's a great sell, Travis. I greatly appreciate the kind words.
I mean it.
I know. I had a great opportunity to speak with your mastermind class about this and had a great time talking with them about the subject. And I really feel that as podcasters, we have to be looking at this more seriously. And this is why the title of this show is the best way to grow your audience that most podcasters ignore. I think we've covered some great ground today, and all of the aspects that we've talked about so far, Travis, take us outside of that social media box. But to me, guesting is overlooked because it adds more work to our overall podcasting checklist, but the benefits far outweigh any extra work that you would have to do because you have so many opportunities to grow not just your audience but also your network. And that's one of the biggest aspects of podcast guesting and making those guest appearances on shows that are relevant to your show. You can have so many people that you're now connected with because you went on their show and you had a great conversation. In return, you can say, listen, why don't we continue this on my show? Come over and impact my audience. I'm sure they would love to hear what you have to say. Now you've got a new guest lined up for your show. When you're impacting that other audience, now they're hearing your voice and saying, wow, this person's really good. They have a podcast too? Well, I'm going to go check that out. I want to hear what they have to say. So you're going to start impacting people in a way where they can now come into your circle and check out what you're doing. And what does it cost you? Your time. That's it. The opportunities that arise from having guest opportunities are so hard to, it's incalculable the value that you can get in return, because we've talked about this. Your net worth is your network. If you're in podcasting, clearly you believe in the medium. So why wouldn't you utilize that belief by blowing it up and blowing up the message on other shows? Obviously, these people are looking for guests too. And I know podcasters struggle with this. They're looking for more guests to come on their show. They're looking for people that they can collaborate with and make quality content. Be that person. Approach every podcast in your space knowing that they need someone to come on and make an impact. And when you do that multiple times, you increase the size of your network, you impact a new audience every time. And we're just scratching the surface on the value of this. I mean, I could get into a lot of conversation if you're a brand, what you can accomplish by being a guest on other podcasts. If you're curious about this, I encourage you to check out guestspotter.com on my website. This is my comprehensive booking service where I handle all the aspects of getting you booked on the right podcasts, shows that are congruent with your mission and your message. Check that out today. And if you like what you see, we can have a longer conversation about it. But overall, the benefits of being a guest on other podcasts, it's something that gets ignored. And I've always wondered why, because going on other shows is a killer way to grow your audience and bring more people to your show.
Yeah. So Jason invited me to be on his podcast as the series guest. And I thought about it for a second and I was like, wait a minute, you mean I get to just show up, hang out with you, talk, and you're going to edit the episode, you're going to publish it, you're going to write show notes, you're going to promote it. I mean, I'm going to help you promote it, of course, but like, think about this. You now know me. If you're listening to this, you now know who I am and my philosophies behind podcasting. And it's super valuable because there's a chance that my audience is different than Jason's, like completely different. So you might not listen to my podcast and you only listen to Pod Theory or vice versa. But now I have the opportunity to combine those audiences and reach people that resonate with me. So if you get the chance to be a guest, definitely take it. And there's ways that you can be a more prepared guest if you're pitching by downloading Jason's guide, which would be in the show notes. And this should be a paid book that you're getting for free for some reason. And I've told Jason a million times, you need to sell this thing for $25, but hey, I can't make him charge you for this book. So get it. And then you're going to get on his email list, and you're going to be able to be up to speed on what Jason's doing and see that he actually does what he says he does. Okay. This isn't some guru bullshit where he's going to tell you to do a bunch of things and give you a checklist. He's actually doing these things and they work. So I just want to recap a couple of ways you may not be trying to grow your audience are being proactive. You can't just show up, record, and expect people to show up. If you build it, they will not come. I promise you. Doesn't work like that. Nurture an email list. I know we said build, but start an email list and send emails to them. Okay. Don't just build an email list and wait until you have a certain number to send that. Be active in your communities. I gave you 2 or 3 ways that you could do that. And consider having a place to send your audience after the audio. It doesn't have to be a website, but a website is a really great thing to show that you're a serious entity as a podcaster. And then, of course, accessing other people's audiences. Thank you, Jason, for having me, because your audience is so handsome and beautiful. And I like being around beautiful people.
They did themselves up good
Yeah.
for your appearance. Comb their hair, brush their teeth, new suit, new dress.
Yeah, it smells nice in here.
Right?
But thank you for inviting me to spend time with your people, because it's an honor. And so in the next episode of Pod Theory, what are we talking about? What is the last thing we're going to be debunking?
The season finale. I don't even know if we're going to be debunking, because we really didn't debunk a lot in this episode. I think we focused more on here's where you should keep your attention. And these are ways that you can grow. And these are ways that you can be, as you said it many times, proactive in your approach to communicate with your audience. So if we've debunked anything, it's not being proactive. Don't be reactive, be proactive. As we move into the season finale, what should your number one point of focus be with your podcast?
What's number one? I can't wait to find out.
Season finale is coming up.
Stay
Travis,
tuned.
I want to thank you, and I know we'll get into this more, but I want to thank you for being a part of this, because I knew that your impact on the Pod Theory audience would be huge. And I think to this point that it has, and we're going to do this one more time on episode 136. We'll see you there.
Stay tuned.
There you have it. That is episode 135 of Pod Theory. Look, if you're not being a guest on other podcasts, you are truly missing out. There are so many great things that open up when you set yourself up as an expert and as a guest on other people's shows. The collaboration, the fact that you can build your reputation, grow your audience, it's all good, and it's all something you should be taking advantage of now. If you'd like to talk about this a little bit more, my door is wide open. Just reach out to me. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. And if you're looking for someone that can help you find the right shows for you, check out guestspotter.com, and you'll learn more about my comprehensive service that can help you get booked on other shows. So we're almost done. One more episode left in the season, episode 136. It's ready, it's waiting, and Travis and I are taking a look at what your number one point of focus should be with your podcast, no matter what your podcast is all about. The season 2 finale of Pod Theory is ready and waiting for you. Jump over, take a listen. I am going to officially close the book on episode 135. It no longer is, it was. This is Jason Cercone. End of podcast. Being a guest on podcasts that are relevant to your message and mission is the most powerful way to build your brand today. With each guest appearance you make, you build your reputation, establish trust, position yourself as a thought leader, grow your audience, and much, much more. If you'd like to enhance your brand by maximizing the power of podcasting, you need to check out Guest Spotter. Guest Spotter offers comprehensive communications and guest booking solutions, so all you need to do is show up and dominate your interview. Visit guestspotter.com today to learn more.